Let's be honest. You've done everything right. So why does it still feel harder than it should? I've been where you are, that moment where it feels heavier than it should. When you follow the steps, check the boxes, and still it's just not flowing, at least not the way that you know it's supposed to. I remember staring at the numbers, second guessing the plan that I once felt so clear about, and feeling that weird tiredness that doesn't come from working hard, but from moving into a direction that simply no longer fits. And what I had to realize is this. Look, here's the thing. No one tells you you're not broken, but your systems and your structure might be, because that friction that you're feeling, that fatigue, the drag, the stuck while still moving feeling, it's not failure, it's misalignment. I'm Jennifer Brici, and I help experienced coaches and small business owners simplify their systems so they can grow with freedom, not fight against friction all the time. I've walked dozens of clients through the same season where growth felt more like grinding, where we've built the offer, followed the strategy, and done everything right. And yet every win seems like it comes at a cost. And if that's where you are, you're not alone. And you're not wrong for wondering, is there something missing? There is, but it's not what you think. What I see over and over again in brilliant seasoned professionals like you isn't a lack of effort. It's a mismatch between where you started and where you've grown. Imagine trying to plant a powerful tree in a container made for a sapling. You add sunlight, you add water, you keep showing up with love, but the roots can't stretch and the soil can't breathe, so the growth stalls. In that container, that's your structure, your systems, your calendar, your back end, your boundaries. And when you try to scale inside a frame that you've already outgrown, of course it feels tight. Of course it wears you down. And of course you wonder if something's wrong. I used to think I had to burn it all down just to breathe, but that's not true. You don't need to tear your business apart, and you don't need to start over. You just need to realign. And once you see the misalignment clearly, you can shift it quickly, cleanly, and without adding more. And that's when it clicks. When your calendar feels lighter, when your energy stops leaking, and when your business finally feels like you again. And that starts by recognizing complexity that's been quietly draining your clarity. And that's where we're going to go next. What starts as clarity can quickly turn into chaos. I didn't set out to build something complicated. It started simple. One offer, one clear path, and a vision that felt clean and true. But slowly, almost without noticing, I started adding. And, a tool here, an idea there, an extra offer, a bonus I thought would help, a funnel I was told that I need. And for a while, it felt like momentum until it didn't. Instead of feeling clear, I was constantly adjusting, spinning, and trying to hold it all together, and still wondering, why is this not working anymore? And maybe you've asked yourself that too. Maybe you felt it, but haven't had the words for it. So let's name it complexity creep. It sneaks in quietly, but it's one of the biggest reasons experienced professionals start to burn out. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack strategy. It's like this thing that they're trying to create, the system that they're building, it just keeps growing and growing and all in the wrong directions. It's what happens when every quick fix comes along, okay? Every bonus, every tool or template adds another layer, another login, another decision, another point of failure that you're now responsible for. You reach a point where everything's working and yet nothing makes sense. And then suddenly you're running a business that you can't explain, not to a team member, not to a client, and not even to yourself. And in that silence, your confidence starts to fade, not because you don't care, but because the chaos makes it hard to trust yourself. What it feels like, you work more, but you make the same or less. You stack solutions, but nothing sticks. Your VA asks for clarity and you just don't have it. You avoid launching anything new because your systems are a mess and the thought of more visibility feels overwhelming. It's not because you're scattered, and it's not because you're behind, and it's definitely not because you're not qualified. This isn't resistance. It's a literal nervous system overload. It's your body saying, the structure doesn't feel safe anymore. When momentum disappears, it's rarely about effort. It's about rhythm. There was a season in my business when I found myself asking and telling myself, I just need to do more. But wait, here's what I learned. And what I want you to hear clearly, more effort won't fix misalignment. And momentum, it does not come from volume. It comes from rhythm. Let's reframe this together. Most coaches respond to stuckness by piling on more funnels, more platforms, more content, more hours. But more just magnifies the misalignment that's already there. You're not lacking in action, you're missing alignment. And the bridge back to alignment is rhythm. And here's what rhythm really means. Rhythm isn't rigidity. It's not color-coded time blocks or hustle in disguise. It's not about tightening control. It's about creating flow. It's a pulse that you can return to, a drumbeat you don't have to chase, and a container that holds steady so that you can lead with clarity instead of grasping for certainty. Because when rhythm is present, your decisions come faster, your stress drops, your system breathes, and your business starts moving with you, not against you. What happens without rhythm? You push too hard one week, and then you can't function the next week, right? You dream faster than you can execute, and you wonder why nothing sticks. Because you're always catching up, never ahead. So eventually, you stop trusting yourself. And that's not a strategy. It's a rhythm failure. And it's fixable. 1 hour per week. That's it. Here's how you get started. Step 1, block your CEO hour. Pick one time each week and make it sacred. No distractions, no multitasking, just you and your business. And ask yourself, what's working? What's stuck? And then what one thing needs my focus this week? And then step 2, choose one fix. Just one, not 5, not 10. One. One decision, one adjustment, and one shift that moves the needle forward. And then track your momentum, not just your metrics, okay? Track ease, movement. Track what got done without force. Because when you start to see even small movement, then your confidence returns. And that confidence is what drives growth. Rhythm creates results. And here's what most business advice misses. You don't need a new tool. You don't need another tactic. You don't need a better planner. You need a rhythm, one that brings you back to what matters, and one that reminds you that you're not behind, you're in motion, and you're leading on purpose. Because when you lead with rhythm, the chaos calms, the system supports you, and growth feels inevitable. So let's take this one step further, and let me show you how rhythm leads to scale without adding complexity. Most people think scaling starts with ads or with automation or by hiring a team or building another funnel. But here's the truth. Scaling doesn't start with doing more. It starts with clarity. It starts with rhythm. And it starts with structure that fits who you are now, not who you were when you began. because you can't scale confusion. You can't automate friction, and you can't grow what's misaligned. But once you simplify and once you systemize, scaling becomes inevitable. There's a rhythm to growth, and it always, always begins with clarity. So, how do you simplify? It's not about doing less for the sake of doing less, excuse me. It's about making space for your genius to lead. So here's where you can start to simplify. First, audit your offers. Which ones are selling? Which ones are draining your energy? And which one confuses your clients? And then trim your tech, right? What are you still paying for that you're not even using, or you're not using it effectively? And then cut the noise. Ask yourself, if I could only complete 3 things this week, what 3 things would truly move the needle? This isn't about shrinking. This is about sharpening. Think of it like cleaning the lenses of your glasses. You don't need new glasses. You just need to see clearly again. And once you can see clearly again, you can start to systemize. You're ready to stabilize. Systemizing means that you stop reinventing the wheel every time. You stop scrambling every week just to maintain the momentum. And now your business starts running with you, not because of you. And here's the rule I give my clients. If you do it more than 3 times, systemize it. It starts with your weekly CEO check-in, same day, same time. Review, realign, refocus. Next up is your content framework. Batch your ideas. Use a template. Stop starting from scratch every time and repeat, repeat, repeat. And then systemize your client onboarding so that your team isn't guessing and your clients feel supported from the very beginning. And only when you have these 2 things done, now and only now, are you ready to scale. Because your systems aren't just built, they're working. Your offers are aligned, your operations are streamlined, and your messaging flows with ease. And growth, it starts to feel natural, expected, inevitable. So if you're asking yourself, how do I bring in more clients? How do I earn more without working more? And how do I finally feel free inside my business again? This is it. This is it. Simplify, systemize, and only then scale. That's the path. That's the sequence. If your business feels heavier than it should, if you followed the strategies, but something still feels off, if you're showing up, but growth feels unpredictable, it's not because you're broken. It's because your structure no longer matches your season. And once you see that, you can shift it without burning it down, without doing more, without forcing momentum. So what do you actually need? 1 hour a week, a weekly reset for your mind and for your business, a rhythm. That's what the weekly momentum call is, not a training, not a pitch, and not just another thing to manage. It's a space to realign, to pause, to zoom out, and to choose one clear fix that you can focus on this week. This call is free for now. It's how I give back. It's how I support coaches and professionals like you who are ready to grow with less chaos and more clarity. If this resonates, then join us. Come. You'll walk away with more clarity, more calm, and a next step that actually feels good to take. You're not behind. You're not scattered. You're a builder. And your business, it deserves to feel that way again. So let's realign it 1 hour, one fix, one rhythm at a time. Click the link below to join the free weekly momentum call. You've outgrown hustle, and it's time to lead from alignment.